Alright, so I guess I'm done for the night. A little bit funny. So, obviously I'm working on the cars and I finally got it started up. There's like a neighbor like across the street comes out and I get it. I get why she's upset. But still there's not a reason to like be a complete bitch. She comes out, "Excuse me, do you not know how to tell time?" I'm sorry, no, is it late? Bullshit! It's past 12:30. You do this shit every weekend. And I was like, I'm sorry, I lost track of time. I honestly didn't realize it was 12:30 already. I thought it was like 11:30. So that is my bad. But then she comes off with like, this isn't an auto repair shop. It's like, never said it was. I'm not out here fixing other people's cars for profit. I'm fixing my own fucking cars and fucking building cars. People can have hobbies. I'm sure she loves her quilting or whatever the fuck she does, and I don't complain when her husband's dragging in giant fucking appliances every fucking weekend either. So, I don't know, maybe just pick what stones you throw instead of just starting to complain. Maybe just saying, hey, look, it's really late, I don't know if you know, just, maybe you lost track of time, whatever. Like, kind of give the polite response rather than come out with a serious fucking attitude. You do this shit every weekend. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I did it every weekend, especially because I wasn't even in town last weekend. I was like 5.5 hours away, so you must be super impressive hearing to hear me from fucking Kentucky. So, I don't know. So she's just real lot of attitude. So I guess I'm done for the night. Got a lot done. The car's running now, which is freaking awesome because it wasn't running before, as you guys know. It's idling really nicely. So now what I actually have to do, this car has, this tire is like, it's not that it's leaking slowly, but the tire itself is actually like really gouged out really bad on the side. So I'm gonna have to replace that at some point. And then the rear tire is completely flat. I think it was flat like within a day. So relatively slow leak, sort of, but at the same time it just blows. So I gotta get that fixed, and then I'll be able to drive this car around, which is gonna be awesome. And then I also, I know I need to like secure some of these things here. Obviously, I'm not gonna have it dangling like that when I drive. I might even just take the hood off when I drive, because there's no real reason to put a hood on. But then after that, everything seems to be working. I can go ahead and pull this out. Fix whatever I need to fix on it. Definitely going to clean up a lot of the oil. For the first time in my life, I'm actually going to switch from a traditional front mount intercooler to a water cooler. So, and one of the reasons for doing that is obviously the Mini is pretty tight on space. And if you see here, now that we have our radiator shroud in place, we're actually going to cut this out. The radiator that's in there actually fits pretty much right in the outline here, so we're going to cut all that. Right now there's 2 slim fans bolted to it. The ECU has fan control, so I'll set up a relay for that and trigger the fan control with the temperature on the radiator, which is going to be awesome. And then I'm also going to have to build a custom shroud because 2 fans straight bolted to the radiator is extremely inefficient. So pretty much we're just going to have to get rid of that. But definitely not a lot of space here. My fear is because of the way that the intercooler piping comes out of the turbocharger here, it comes out straight up and then straight down. And that 170 degree turn, 160 degree turn, 1, annoys the hell out of me. 2, it's extremely inefficient. And 3, it adds a lot of space in front of the turbocharger. Now, obviously, I don't want the turbo to be super close to the fans where it melts the fans, but if I can bring this in a little bit closer, it'd give me a little bit better clearance to work with on the Mini Cooper, especially because I want to have air conditioning and everything else on there too, all the luxuries. So what I'm going to end up doing is actually coming from this turbo, basically just cutting the flange off here and actually having it come up this way, having it go into air-water intercooler here, then coming up, and then going into this pipe here, and then so keeping all this the same, then air-water intercooler, and then from there just comes straight out of the turbo. So it's gonna be super short, super quick, which is gonna be really cool. The response on it's gonna be freaking amazing because we're taking out all this piping, which is gonna be nice. So far it looks like, you know, if we measure from about right here in front of this motor mount, so right there, over to just beyond the pulleys, maybe like an inch past the pulleys, that fits perfectly inside the Mini Cooper. So transmission, because of how high the frame rail jacks up, the transmission should fit perfectly in there. We're gonna have to remove the subframe and stuff, and because the GSX doesn't have a subframe, the GSX has basically the frame rails. It has one bar that runs across here in the front, and then it has one bar that also runs across in the back for the third motor mount, fourth mount overall, because the transmission has a mount here. So what we're gonna do is actually take this motor mount, we're gonna try and flip it vertical and see if we can go to the bottom of the frame rail here on the Mini Cooper. And then on this side, we're actually gonna do almost the same thing. We're gonna see if the spacing allows. It looks like the frame rail is gonna be right here on the Mini Cooper. So we'll be able to just build up, keep this polyurethane mount, and then from there we'll just build a bracket that just goes down and bolts to the frame rail right here on the Mini Cooper. Pretty much almost exactly where the OEM is, but we'll have to cut out some of this flanging and kind of re-weld some stuff in here to make all that work. So that's the plan. That is what we're doing. So the next step for tomorrow's Saturday, so what we're going to do, basically we're going to do the tires. I'm going to swap out the diff fluid, because I don't know if they have anything in the diff right now. So then once all that's done, I can start doing some of the mounts and things. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the ECU. I'm going to solder everything up. I've got a board with Saturday Amazon delivery for tomorrow, and that's going to be the mega processor for the Arduino ECU that we have running. And tomorrow night, so my neighbor doesn't yell at me again, so I'll fix the Genesis during the day tomorrow, and then I'll solder up at night, so she doesn't get her, so she doesn't freak the fuck out apparently at 12:30 at night and yell at the kid who's just lost track of time. Bit of a bitch move on her part. So the reason I'm doing the ECU so early, I want to, since the engine's out, I want to do the best that I can to run all the wiring through there. Obviously not like everything, but I kind of want to get some things situated. I want to make sure I know that the blinkers are going to work. I've already checked all of the circuits without the OEM ECU from the Mini do work for the most part. The fuel pump's the only thing that won't trigger, but the standalone ECU will be able to trigger that, so we'll put that on its own relay. Standalone from all the other Mini Cooper stuff, so it doesn't have a real like glitch freakout thing. So we'll just cut that loom off and wire in some new connectors. The Mini Cooper has electric power steering, which I kind of want to keep. I wouldn't normally keep it, except they got rid of the power steering in this car, which is just really annoying, mainly because the parts are actually relatively expensive. I mean, I can get them used and from junkyards and things like that, but then there's a lot of extra work that I have to try to fit in with packaging. But the electric power steering is really nice because I already have it, and those switches should still work in the Mini Cooper, which is going to be cool. So then once we get it swapped, or once I get bored with the Mini swap and I have enough space in here, I want to get back to the Genesis Coupe tubular headers, as well as shortening those exhaust pipes. Basically, I just got a little burnt out with it. I love that car so much, and the amount of downtime I've had on it in the last year. You know, I mean, it got built and all that kind of stuff, but with the new job, there was so much driving involved. I didn't want to like drive 150 miles a day on that car, so I drove the Mini. I didn't want to drive in heavy Houston traffic with it when I was living there. I came up here, and then it was winter, and I had summer performance tires, and I basically couldn't drive it again. And so it's had kind of all this like downtime, and I'm just tired of it. I love that car, and I just want to freaking drive it. So I'm gonna drive it hopefully for the next like 6, 7, maybe not 6 months, maybe for like 4 months. And then the Mini's gonna be done. And once the Mini's done, I can get back to the Genesis. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and check out some of the other videos. If this is the first time watching something, definitely go back and check out the beginning of the build where we pull the engine. Check out my other build with the Genesis Coupe. Check out some super old retro videos with the SRT4. Make sure to check out the website. The website is initialdiymods.com, and keep in mind we are basically 100% DIY, which is pretty cool. So we're going to be literally making our own ECU from scratch. We're going to be obviously engine swapping, doing all the welding ourselves. Pretty much the only thing we're not going to do is mounting tires, because I don't have that kind of equipment. If the block, once we do the compression test and stuff, if the block needs to be remachined, obviously I can't do that. I'm fucking not rich.